Good gaming Saturday, everybody, and welcome to your damage check, your weekly look at all the gaming wreckage that has happened throughout the week. And let me tell you, there's some hot wreckage. There's some hot and spicy wreckage this week.
There's some interesting stuff.
Joining me as always is Mr. HP. HP, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Mr. Fjord. So I had a lot of a weird week, a lot of medical stuff, but this is damage check. So enough about me. Let's just get into the gaming stuff. If the vibe's a little off, I just had a long medical stuff going on, and so we just need to get into it because I need to talk about games.
Alrighty, let's cruise right into it then. So first off, let's talk about what we've been playing. HP. I actually haven't really talked to you much this week. So have you really been playing much other than the usual? Anything new?
New Magic the Gathering set released. Hopped on that for a little bit. Cards look interesting. Not much else to say about it. It's a card game. If you like it, you like it. And League of Legends, I can't get off the rank grind right now. I did go into Sea of Stars a little bit. Actually, I got a little bit further in Sea of Stars. I got to the parts you were talking about, so I'm super into it, man. That world building is just so fun and whimsical, and I love it.
So let me ask you then. So now that you got to the part that I've been telling HP for a while, for those who are just hopping in, is I think the game really starts to take shape in a big way once you meet Rashawn. Would you agree with that statement? Do you think meeting Rashawn and kind of lead up to meeting Rashawn has leveled up the game to you, or are you still kind of in the same spot?
I feel like it's in the same spot, but not in a bad way. It's like that was a good turning point in the what I expect from the game, because the game went from like whimsical meta to like plot twist meta, and it was really kind of cool to do that. But I don't think anything's fully changed yet, other than no spoilers, but like provided the abilities or whatever have kind of altered, you know what I mean, a little bit. If it says anything, like with the solstice charm or whatever, like when you can kind of do things more freely. I don't think so. I mean, I've only played like maybe 10 minutes past meeting him.
Okay.
So I think that maybe there's more to come that might change my perspective on it. But if anything, all it did was kind of like accelerate it into a better world building experience. I don't think it's really changed the game too much so far. Maybe I'll get there, but I mean, it was awesome.
No, that's fair. I don't know if the game changes, like the game play changes a ton from meeting Rashawn. I think that doesn't happen until a little bit later on. Arguably, maybe even a little bit too late. But yeah, story wise, I feel like, especially the twist of Rashawn, because you've been like, you've seen stuff throughout the game that has like implied kind of this stuff. And then meeting Rashawn, you're like, oh, okay, so this is all kind of a connected thing. There's something grander going on here.
Right. It felt very Sazed, Cosmere-esque. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I thought the same exact thing. I was
cool.
like, interesting, but I don't want to get too far into that because that might be spoilers. But yeah, that was definitely a very similar vibe for me, where I was like, "Says it?" Like what?
Right.
Awesome. And so I did want to ask you about the league stuff, because I feel like you've been hot in it lately on League. You've been really going in on it. Has this kind of season just really done that much good for the game? Summoner's Rift specifically, I guess, has it really kind of brought that around and put it in a good spot?
I think so. I think that the item switch, now there's still some tweaks that need to be made, because like if anyone plays League, we know that ever since the introduction of lethality, it's been kind of like, it's kind of armor pin, but then it's flat armor pin, but then it's not. And then they've kind of been messing around with it in there. It's so overpowered right now because people are getting it on like people that it shouldn't be. Lethality is kind of meant for the AD assassins, but people are building only lethality on 80 carries now, so a lot of 80 carries have been completely shifted out of the meta, whereas some are. So there's a little bit of balancing right there, but I think AP carries are in a good spot. I think they're in a better spot than they were last season. I feel like AP carries can kind of actually do damage to tanks now with the new items. And AP assassins are in a really good place because of the storm surge. It's kind of like old Deathfire Grasp, etc. So I think that overall your role feels like your role, but really the addiction that I've kind of reacquired for League is mainly just I feel like I'm getting better, and I do like this season, and I feel like I'm getting better, so I'm kind of comboing the two of like, I want to rank up. And plus, I like to play with my friends, and I haven't, besides League of Legends, I haven't been able to play a good cooperative multiplayer experience in a long time because, you know, my friends are on this or they're on that, or we're jumping from game to game, and it's so hard. But League of Legends is kind of always there. And so that's something we can all jump back on. Like, I'm not getting the boys back on Overwatch. I'm not getting the boys back on Rainbow.
Yeah.
It's just tough. So
yeah, and I mean, those games, I feel like even more so than League, have gone through like a lot of identity crises lately, which actually is one of our stories later on. So we'll kind of get into that.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, what I've been playing, I did play quite a few Steam Next Fest demos. I feel
yes,
like
I did do those too. So I'll get
Yeah, I figure that's why I started with this whole combo together. But yeah, I played some Steam Next Fest demos. I do think this has been one of the weaker Next Fests for me. I feel like I haven't found as many like banger gems that I'm like, oh yeah, like this is like the cool new hotness. I have found a lot of really cool ideas. There's been a few that I've seen that I'm like, okay, this is a really cool idea. I feel like the game part of it is still not really there. One we kind of talked about on your stream, which was like Diceomancer, which is basically a card game, but with this added mechanic of like being able to roll dice to adjust the numbers of the cards and of other parameters within the game. Really, really cool idea, but like the actual game part of it, I'm still just kind of like, I don't know if this is really hitting. I feel like they got to figure out the game part of it a bit more and not just like this interesting mechanic that's happening.
Yeah, I feel like demo is probably the best way to describe this Next Fest. So I kind of agree with you. It's funny that they're all demos for you to try, so you can buy these amazingly created indie developed games. But the thing is like a lot of them did feel like demos, and by demo I mean tech demo. I mean, like, some of them just felt like I wouldn't say unfinished, but like that you could tell that the love is there. Like I played Spring Dash, I think it was called. Very cool concept. I love speedrunning first person games. Like, you know, Hot Lava and Neon White, if you guys know, are amazing indie titles that are speedrunning titles, and I am obsessed with those types of games. Spring Dash, I feel like it wants to be there. I feel like it could be there. Maybe I didn't give it enough time. I played it for roughly 25 minutes, and it feels like there's something there, but I don't know what it needs, what oomph it needs, but it felt very tech demo-y. It just felt like it wasn't done. Maybe in terms of feedback or fluidity in the movement, I'm not sure, but I feel like a lot of those games can kind of harken back to that tech demo-y feel. Now there's about 3 or 4 that I have still in my library that I haven't touched yet that I am super excited for. I can't remember one of them's like Tribes 3, and then there's a couple other first person games.
That's one I want to try.
Those look really good, and then the Ghosts of Katsushima looks pretty good.
Okay, so I don't think I saw that one, but
it's basically a Ghost of Tsushima with cats, but side scroller Metroidvania.
I'm into that. I'm into that a lot.
At least that's what it sounded like to me. I don't know. So I there's a couple that look incredible. So I mean, good job to these creators. I mean, they all look amazing. The art for most of these games look fantastic. So
yeah, I think you actually hit it. I wasn't even thinking about it this way, but I think you hit it on the head with this. Definitely feels like the most demo version of Steam Next Fest so far, where it's very like tech demo, whereas like, you know, when we played Chance of Cinar, last Next Fest,
we wanted more.
Immediately fell in love with it, and when you played the actual game, the demo was pretty much indicative of exactly what you were getting.
Like. Yeah, exactly.
And so I think that maybe is a good call out, where a lot of these do feel like they're still pretty early in the oven. So I just want to call out a couple of them that I did really enjoy. One that I really did enjoy was Lightyear Frontier, which was pretty cool. It's another survival game, you know, go around, cut down trees, rocks, all that kind of stuff. Was kind of cool in the way that it's the vibe is very like solar punk. The whole concept is that Earth is basically dead, and people are now just like going out into the planets, like these beautiful lush planets, and just kind of making a homestead life for themselves. And so the way I've been describing it to people is you go to an alien planet to drive around your John Deere mech, and just kind of be like a farmer. And I don't know, the vibe's kind of interesting because it's not like other survival games where like a lot of survival games are very kind of like, I mean, they're survival, so it's kind of like serious and dreary in a way, whereas this is very just kind of like, yeah, just walk around in your little John Deere mech, you know, build some stuff, feed some of the animals to like make them happy, help prepare the land and make it beautiful and stuff like that. So it's kind of like this interesting, like,
So more of the grind, less of like the peril.
yes, yeah, more of the grind, more of the like, hey, build up this stuff. You know, there's like some things you can do around the world to kind of heal the world, quote unquote. I didn't really get too far into that before the demo ended, but yeah, I thought it was very cool. Definitely one I could see myself just kind of vibing out with and just, you know, chilling. Because yeah, it's just not very like I didn't even experience any combat. To my knowledge, I don't think there is combat. I think it's literally just walking around and just doing survival stuff and upgrades and all that. So that one was pretty cool. I also did want to call out Stormgate. Stormgate is pretty cool. I played a couple of matches of it and just remembered, man, I'm not good at these types of RTSs.
Well,
like
you got to think the people you're probably playing against have been waiting for 12 years for their moment to shine.
They've been in StarCraft just warming up essentially.
I
so
have it installed
and
I want to play it still. I haven't played it yet, but I will.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I definitely don't know if it's for me. I think that I'm much more of the slower RTS guy, like not like super slow, but like Age of Empires speed. Whereas like I was playing against guys where like by the time I got my second base up, these guys are running like 4, 5, 6 bases. I'm like, oh, I'm toast. Like these guys are just gonna roast me. But I definitely think Stormgate is going to, you know, as you kind of mentioned in previous podcasts, no one's really doing this right now. This market kind of got left to the side when Blizzard said we're not doing StarCraft anymore. So I think Stormgate's going to be huge. I think there's definitely a big market for this. And I think kind of to your point that you brought up before, I think esports wise, this game is so, it made me remember this game is so fast, dude. Like you are just going
it's
and
so
going
fast
and going.
And it's in its own pocket. So it's not competing with Fortnite and you know what I mean? So like, because if another battle royale or even like a pseudo battle royale, like the finals comes out, you know, finals and Fortnite, and like it's like, are you watching the Fortnite? You're watching this? Like, yeah, you're gonna get some of the crossover, but you're gonna get kind of like newer people, and then the underground niche people who aren't watching these shooters. They want to watch RTS. Like, so I think that it's got its own pocket too. I mean, StarCraft, if you remember, was big esports, big esports. Yeah.
Especially in like Southeast Asia and stuff. And so I think Stormgate is going to come out. And I think it is going to be very popular. You know, will it be StarCraft? Who knows? But honestly, I think it could. A lot of those people are still waiting around for something to fill that pocket, and it'll probably bring in a lot of new players.
Yeah, and I really hope that this is one thing that I hope with Stormgate, and I don't know if they've had plans for this or not. I haven't seen anything on it yet, but I really hope that they take me back to the old StarCraft days where they allow us for a lot of customization and modding, so we can do custom games because. Yeah, StarCraft 2 custom games are some of my favorite pastime things with friends. Like, you know, tug of war on the bridge and stuff like that. Like that type of stuff is so fun. I mean, heck, that's where the MOBAs came from. That's where the wildly successful Dota and League came from. So
yeah, 100%. I do hope that they do that as well, because I remember doing a lot of same thing like in Age of Empires and Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds back in the day. I used to do all those custom games, and so definitely agree. And then the last two that I'll give a quick shout out to, Tales of Kenzera, Zawu, banger. It's going to be good. It's going to be real good. Art style is on point. You know, I haven't played Prince of Persia yet, but I've seen a lot of people comparing it to that as kind of being another big kind of push on the less action platformer and more of the... I guess just a platform, like a fast-paced, like platform.
Good, I love that. I wouldn't expect anything less, but a banger from my friends at Critical Role.
Yeah, I think they definitely got a good one on their hands, and I think it is going to end up doing very well. And then actually, I'll bring up one more or two more. One is Rusty's Retirement, which is really interesting. It's a game that is supposed to be played in the lower third of your monitor, and so it just like brings up like a little like line on the bottom of your monitor, and it's essentially like an idle game where you're like, oh, I want to plant these things and do these things. And it's just this cute animation goes around and waters the crops and then builds up the thing you wanted it to build and do all this thing. So it's this idle game that you can just have going on in the bottom of your screen.
What an interesting take on, wow. I would have never even thought of like, because there's idle games, you know, but you'd usually full screen it or even window mode it, but this one is kind of with the intent to. That's interesting.
Yes. It is built with the intent of being at the bottom so you can still be doing all this different stuff, watching videos, playing another thing, doing whatever. Like it's got settings too where it's like, oh, we can hide it and then you can just hover over it and it'll come back and stuff like that. Very interesting idea. I'm not a huge idle game guy, so I don't know if it's like something that's gonna rocket to the top of my list or anything like that. But it does make me go, if there was a way to get me into idle games, it probably would be this.
I mean, innovation, yeah,
have it just kind of be on the side, and every once in a while I'll go down and be like, oh yeah, I want to do this, 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 and this, and this, and then just have it go do it, and then it kind of go, just kind of fades down, and I do my stuff, and then I come back and do it. Very, very interesting kind of concept.
I love that.
The second one I want to give a shout out is another very interesting concept. So I've been doing a lot of I've read a lot of self-help books lately, and I'm like trying to be a little bit more productive with my time and everything. And so one thing I started using recently was the Pomodoro technique, which if you're not familiar is basically 25 minutes of working and then take like a 5 to 10 minute break, and then 25 minutes working, and then a 5 to 10 minute break and everything like that. And I actually started thinking like, what if there was like a gamified version of that? About 3 days later, when Steam Next Fest started, insert Spirit City Lo-Fi Sessions, which is a gamified version of the Pomodoro technique. And you can like set the times and stuff yourself, but essentially you make an avatar. It's essentially if you took, the Lo-Fi Girl like videos, take that concept and make it a game that you can adjust. So you can literally put your avatar in the Lo-Fi Girl section, and there's a little like cat with a third eye, like kind of spirit cat that like just hangs out right there. And you can set it to have different tasks, and you can set the timer, and then it'll tell you when the timer's up and go to the 5 minutes and all this different stuff. And you gain XP, which allows you like more customization options for the room and for your character. You can set like the moods, so you can turn it to like daytime, nighttime, evening. You can be like hanging out on a bay window, like a fireplace. So it's not really like a game. It's like a tool that's been gamified. But it's really interesting concept. And I've legitimately, since I started using it, I've used it every single day. I've turned it on and there's my avatar.
I was going to say, I mean this in the most beautiful and loving of ways. That is the most Ford thing I've ever heard in my life.
Legitimately.
It sounds great. I mean, I just love, even if it's not for me, I live and breathe for these types of innovation in the gaming space, because just like Hideo Kojima is like trying to like, oh, his quote recently, your mother's not going to distinguish the next game from a movie, etc. Things like that, like, or even what you just said about this lower third idle game, and then now even this, like these are innovations that I think that like something like Nintendo would typically strive for, but we're getting it on Steam, but we're getting it from these indie developers, and I love that.
Me too, man. And that's why, like, even though I haven't been super impressed with a lot of the games on Steam Next Fest so far, I gotta say, like, I do feel like the innovation is there. There's a lot of really cool ideas and stuff that are in here now. I think not all of them are 100% cooked through, like we said, but I mean, like this Spirit City Lo-Fi Sessions, like, I'm gonna buy this and I'm gonna use it because I've already been using it. And, they don't have all the XP and everything integrated right now, but I'd love to give me a dumb little tracker that says, oh yeah, you finished like 300 sessions this 6 months and you've gained X amount of levels. Here's a customization option. Here's a new pet thing or something. Like, that's cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And that concludes the Steam Next Fest session. As far as other things I've been playing, I did hop on some Destiny, and I've been kind of getting back into that swing. Not too much. I'm still waiting for like some of the more content stuff to come out over the next couple months and lead up to Final Shape. But I did play an absolute fuck ton of Helldivers 2. I will save those thoughts though for the Helldivers 2 story that we were going to have, and we'll kind of just have a conversation about Helldivers 2. That sound all right?
Yeah, that sounds fine. I mean, I'm ready whenever. I haven't played it. I've only watched things on it. I'm kind of a middle ground man when it comes to games like this, so I will let you lead that one.
Perfect. Well, we'll swing back around to it. So in that case, let's get into the news, the big news. So this first section is basically going to be the Xbox is doing what section?
Exactly.
Which is, we're going to start out with the easy stuff, which is the Xbox handheld. So we actually just talked about handhelds last week with PlayStation possibly thinking about coming out with a handheld. Everyone saw Steam Deck, not Switch. Forget about Switch. Everyone saw Steam Deck and was like, oh, we got to get in there.
They just know the power now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely entering an era where I think handheld gaming is entering a form of renaissance where we've now come so close in technology that you can't just have the console experience on the go, which is bringing handhelds back into the light. And so I think it totally makes sense for Xbox to want to bring in a handheld, especially since, with Game Pass and, being able to like do the cloud streaming through Game Pass and all that. I think this is very smart. I would not be shocked if this is something that is right now. So the news, it is a rumor. I feel like this is a sure shot. I think this is happening for sure. Even if it's something kind of like what PlayStation came out with recently, which was the PlayStation Portal, which was just like a screen share handheld. I think that for sure this is happening and probably happening in a big way. What do you think, HP? What do you think about the Xbox handheld?
I think I would say that it's a realistic thing. Only contradicted maybe a little bit by the next source of news we have. Just because I feel like why put your eggs in a basket if that basket's disappearing? And so
that's fair
with that. So I do believe this, and I could see this because why not? Like you said, Steam's doing it. You got Nintendo will continue to probably do it forever because they know it sells and and people love mobile gaming. So why just do it on your phone when you can have the biggest and baddest, and which leads us kind of to the next story, which I think that is a contradiction. Is a contradiction to, maybe even making this handheld, but I still think that they could if they, or maybe that's the route we're going. But Xbox apparently rumored to release their exclusives so other companies can kind of get a handle on it, like Gears, Halo, etc., and going to Switch or PS4. And it's like we see this rumor a lot. Everyone listening has probably seen this rumor all week. It's been the talk of the town. Does that mean that they're going to make this handheld? Do they need to make a handheld if they're doing this, or should they make a handheld? I think they kind of should, because then they're branching it out, and then but the thing is like if Sony does one, and you're giving Sony these access to these exclusives, are you losing money again? Because didn't we just recently talk about Xbox not really being like Game Pass, etc., not being too profitable? So does this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you're right. Let's bring in the next story and let's just park the bus here for a little bit. HP, pull over. We got to park here for a second. So next story is Xbox is rumored. This is all very heavily rumored, but it's coming out from enough sources at this point that to some extent, some of this is probably true. How far it goes, we'll see. But Xbox is to release their exclusives to other companies, so we could theoretically see things such as Gears, Halo, etc. on Switch and PS4. Now, the Gears and Halo was kind of like the stretch of the rumor. People saying like, oh, I heard that they're thinking about bringing these things. Whereas some games such as like Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves are at this point almost all but confirmed to now be coming to other consoles. They essentially just need to come out and say, hey, these games are going to come to other consoles. And so this has kind of started a big conversation around, PS5. Thank you, Super Saiyan Jones.
I forget which one we're on all the time.
And so this has brought up a big conversation of if Xbox is just going to be bringing all their games to Switch and PS5 and all this kind of stuff, why have Xbox? And right. So I think that's where I want to park it right now. So tell me your first on the rumors themselves, HP. Tell me your thoughts.
Well, that's exactly why I mentioned this in like co-opted with this handheld story, because do we need a handheld if they're just moving them to the other platforms? I think this is a healthy dose of, hey, Nintendo, you need to also do this. But the thing is, I don't want Nintendo to give up. Keep your innovation. So I think Xbox doing this is if they're doing this, my thoughts on this is big moves, big money, because then they're not going to have to push so hard. I mean, we talked about how much money these companies, Sony specifically, or things, with Marvel Spider-Man, how much money they are losing, or not necessarily, they're going neutral on these games. They're making $300 million game, making about 300 million, not enough to pay the employees, big layoffs. So we see this trickle down effect of like, these big games cost this much money. And so like if Xbox is putting all their eggs in these baskets of like, we're going to make these big games and put them on Game Pass so they're free, basically. Are we making enough money to keep up with these giant AAA, or in our case, tier 4, tier 5 games? Can we keep up with these in terms of the revenue? I don't personally know. You might know better than I would, and I would love to hear what you think about it. But if this is true, this is a good move, because and hopefully, and this is where I think it should go. If this happens, hopefully Nintendo sees this and then they're like, hey, maybe we could release Pokemon and make $1 billion in a night on Steam.
For real. And yeah, I mean, my thoughts are honestly kind of similar, and I think it is a good move. Yeah, basically starting out that I think that this is a fantastic move, and I think that it's, once again, we talked about this a couple episodes ago, but like, Xbox is really ahead of the game here. They're looking at the tea leaves and realizing this console stuff is not long for this world. Consoles will continue to exist, but the console war, quote unquote, it's over, man. Like it's just not a thing anymore. The only one really that is still in the console war is Sony, because Sony is specifically in the kind of their business loop at this point is make the exclusives to sell a bunch of hardware because they want to be the box on your TV stand, essentially, right?
That's a good point. I just want to say one thing, because like about the console wars thing, that's a good point, because I was just talking to a friend about this, and we talked about like, they're like, who won the console wars in this, and I'm like, if anyone, probably Sony, but also because Xbox is doing a different thing than Sony. Sony's winning maybe here, and Xbox is winning here. They're winning in different spots, and then they're like, what about Switch? And it's like, Switch isn't even in it. They don't want to be in it. They clearly don't care. And guess what? They're doing so well because they don't care. Now, does that mean that the capitalist version of competition doesn't work? No. I still think that competition needs to be there, but I think that the more accessible you make your stuff, the more money you're going to make at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, Nintendo is eventually going to kind of get back into that rat race, because as soon as, like if this Microsoft handheld ends up happening, I mean, even with the Steam Deck, like people now saw like Nintendo drove off the side of the road into their own lane, and now other people are starting to merge into that lane. And so Nintendo's going to have to figure out what they're going to do once more competition actually kind of starts merging into what they're doing. But yeah, I think Microsoft is making the right call here. Of the reality is like selling hardware at this point needs to, like, there's no point in selling hardware. We're rapidly approaching a point where hardware is just not going to matter as much anymore. Not that it's not going to matter at all. Like, we're still going to see a PS6, and I do think that we're still going to see another Xbox console, even if this all goes through and you can get, Indiana Jones or Starfield or any, the next Halo, even if you can't get those on PlayStation, I do still think that they're going to have their own hardware, because one, it's about giving easy access. I think if anything, Microsoft is going to say, hey, we're going to give you the option to buy a cheap console that you can play these games on, but we're also going to give you a powered up console, which is exactly what they do right now, where they say, if you want to play our games, the best way to play them is still going to be on Xbox, but you can play them over on the other guys if you would like as well, but they're going to be A, not as affordable, and B, they're not going to be as powerful. And I think that's going to be the marketing pitch, is that they'll have both the most affordable option and the most powerful option. And I think that's how they're going to stay in the hardware race. Now, granted, is an Xbox ever going to outsell another PlayStation console ever again? Absolutely not. It will never happen. And that's probably what Xbox has realized. And they've now basically said, okay, cool. So if we're never going to win the hardware, why keep on trying to lock people into our hardware? Why not just send our games everywhere else and make billions of dollars off of them?
Right. I think that the mention of Starfield is so funny to me, because it's like, to me that was such a massive failure of a game. It
Yeah.
was such a dog shit game that it's so funny to be like, hey, we can't even give these things away. We're selling it on PlayStation now. We're selling it to our competitors. It's just so funny to think about.
I mean, even by, Phil Spencer had an interview where he quite literally said, before Starfield came out, he said, even if Starfield is an 11 out of 10 game, people aren't going to come to Xbox for it. They're not going to sell their PlayStations to come to Xbox.
Well, especially because we can just play it on console or on a PC as well. So
exactly. People are locked into their ecosystems at this point. You're never going to convert a PlayStation guy into an Xbox guy or an Xbox guy into a PlayStation guy, really, because they're locked into what they are doing. They're locked into their ecosystem. And so I think that's why this becomes, it's now a software race. Who has the best chance at making the best software for all the consoles? And the reality is, Xbox has looked at their portfolio and said, guys, we win this. Are you kidding me? They own Activision. They own Bethesda. They own a multitude of other high-class studios, plus their own internal studios. Have they all released bangers? No. But they have the largest swath of developers right now that can release bangers, that have the potential to release bangers.
They do have some of the biggest bangers, though.
And that's the thing. They have some of the biggest bangers, especially like culturally. Halo, one of the biggest cultural bangers ever. And so they've now realized, oh, we're getting out of the hardware race and we're getting into the software race. And I'll tell you right now, they win that fight based off of what everybody else has, like Sony and Nintendo. They win that fight. 100% they win that fight, especially if they're not playing this exclusivity game where now their games can go everywhere. If you could play Halo on everything right now, dude, are you kidding me? That would be massive. They'd be raking in money, even with Halo Infinite getting the reception that it got. By putting it on PlayStation, you're introducing it to a potential extra 100 million players. That's how many PlayStation 5s are in the wild right now, over 100 million. You're now getting the potential of having another 100 million players play your game. That is massive.
That is
and so I think
massive.
they are making the right move here. And I'm really hoping that these rumors end up being true, where they do come out and say, hey guys, we're going everywhere. Everything is going everywhere. Because right now the rumors have kind of gone back and forth where it's like, oh, but only some titles, well, but only sometimes this. I think they just need to go full into it. Like I said, the software race hasn't begun yet. Once it does, if they're already ahead of the game, it's over. Sony can't catch up. Their games take 7 years to make. The next Naughty Dog game is not going to be out until like 2027.
Right. And this is kind of something that's such a good point that you make. I think that what scares me about this for Nintendo is that Nintendo is not in competition with these people, right? I mean, in terms of like the hardware race and stuff like that, because they're
not right now.
No, in the hardware race, they never really have been. They've always been kind of like, you guys are going for power, we're going for innovative, and so they never really have been. Maybe the GameCube was the last era of the console tri wars, but once the Wii came out and the Wii U and the Switch, they have not. Nintendo was like, I don't care what you guys are doing, big dogs. We're over here making our own millions, doing whatever we want because we have Mario and Zelda, etc., and our own, Splatoon, new IPs, Pikmin, etc. So I think what worries me about this software race versus the hardware race for Nintendo is that everyone has been saying it forever. Put Pokemon at the very least. I mean, you could put anything, but put Pokemon on Steam. You will make so much money. And the problem is Nintendo will never do this. They will never let Zelda go. They will never let Mario go. They will never let Pikmin go, Splatoon, any of their personal IPs. They will never let go because they're not because they think that that's what's like, this is what's carrying us, we need these things and stuff like that. And I would kind of agree, but at the same time, because I mean, I probably wouldn't have a Switch if I could get all of those games on Steam. I do like having the Nintendo and it's just a different experience for me, and it's nostalgia and everything, but the thing is Xbox, you're right, they're making this move. You're right, the software race hasn't begun, but once it does, I fear that Nintendo will be behind where they could be so far ahead because they have the exclusives that people want. I mean, you're telling me that someone hears that Zelda is like the best game of all time, or Mario is one of the best platformers of all time, and they don't have a Switch, and they're like, man, I really wish I could play it, but I don't want to buy a Switch just for X, just for Y, just for Z. So of course you're gonna, just like you said, 100 million players on PS5. I mean, imagine PS5 and Steam and all that combined. That's another 200, 300 million players that could be playing these games that potentially don't have a Switch just to play Zelda or Pokemon. I mean, dude, I guarantee if they release Pokemon on Steam tomorrow, we would see a crash on Steam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that,
I mean, yeah.
I think that Nintendo just needs to get in this software race, as well as I think Microsoft. My whole point to this was Microsoft is making amazing moves by starting this kind of software race. If this is all true.
Yes, I 100% agree. Now, to the Nintendo point, I almost think back to that thing that you said to me a few episodes ago, where you said Nintendo is selling the experience of Nintendo. They're not even selling hardware or software. They're selling kind of the boutique experience you get, almost kind of like an Apple, right? Apple sells you the experience of being an Apple user, essentially, right? You can get better stuff for cheaper anywhere else, but people want to be into that Apple thing or Apple ecosystem. Do you feel like Nintendo lets that go at some point? Because I feel like that's the holdup, is that them wanting to sell that experience. Do you think they let that go ever? Or do you think that's kind of just what they've locked into, and that's what they're going to keep on trying to pitch?
I think they've locked into it just because of this, like this whole family friendly or innovative. Like we have you tried the Kinect, you failed. You tried the 6-axis movement, you failed. We have the Joy-Cons and they're perfect and everybody uses them. Like that's how they feel. I don't necessarily believe these things, but that's how they feel, because I thought Kinect was way ahead of its time. I mean, people are still using it for video editing and stuff like that, which is insane. So the hardware has been there for these innovations that Nintendo wants to do, but Nintendo is just kind of like this space of I just don't think they care. So you're right. I don't think that they move out of this space and get it through their head. But by experience, I don't just mean this innovative space of like their hardware experience or their Mario. I mean, that is a big selling point. Is like, oh, we have Mario Kart in real life. You can use a little remote control. Cool. That's something that they want to sell. I don't think that those things like Labo and all that stuff, the cardboard stuff, I don't think that stuff does super well typically. But the thing is like, I mean, like I said, ultimately they have Pokemon, Mario, and Zelda. They don't have to care about anything else. They should care about the software race in terms of putting it somewhere else. But like you said, I think it was a good point. I don't think that I don't know if this is a bad idea, good idea, whatever. Like you said something about, and I didn't fully understand it. Maybe I could be grasping here, but you said something about, so we have our Xbox stuff, but we're going to release them elsewhere. You're going to be paying a higher price and getting a better, or getting a worse experience. But if you stay with us, you'll get a better experience. Maybe if Nintendo did something like that, like, okay, so Zelda is $70 on Switch, but it's $100 on Steam because they have to pay their fees or something like that. So it's like, will people pay that, or will they just buy a Switch? Well, the typical consumer wants to just save the money, so they're not going to buy the Switch. So if that's the case, I mean, I don't know how like lucrative that kind of stuff would be, but wow, that is kind of a good idea to make you kind of pay for the experience if you really want it. Because what's hurting them if it's a digital copy? It's not hurting them anything. It's not production, you know? Yeah,
I think the Xbox pitch for hardware moving forward is essentially, one, you're buying into the ecosystem, Game Pass, integrating with all your Microsoft stuff, Windows, all that kind of stuff is all integrated. Xbox Cloud saves, transferring between Game Pass to console to PC, all like saves and all that. That's the kind of pitch for hardware. But I also think that the pitch is, if you're going to buy Starfield, for example, on PlayStation, you could spend $70, right? Or you could pay $15 a month for Game Pass on Xbox and just play it, right? And especially if you're buying like the Xbox Series S, which is I think right now $200 or $250, you know, if that's the best value in gaming right now. If you want a console right now, that's the best value, because then you can't get the Xbox Series S and then pay $15 a month and get all these games day and date. Or like I said, if they're going to release the next Halo, that's how they pitch it. Hey, come to Xbox, be in the ecosystem, and get the best deal in gaming. You're going to get all these games day one, plus the back catalog. You want to play every Halo game, every Gears game, anything, all that stuff. It's $15 a month.
So Xbox is just turning into the used car salesman of gaming.
I mean, in a way.
No, I mean, that's a good idea, though, because it's like they're kind of like, hey, you can go over there, or we got a back alley deal that you can come in for 15% off or whatever. No, that's a good idea. I think that's a space we haven't really explored, I feel like.
And here's how they get kind of, in a way, here's how they kind of almost win in the hardware race, even though they're getting out of it, is because if their software is so good, if they start outputting banger after banger after banger after banger because of all the studios they now own, and you're over on PlayStation and you keep on spending $70 this month, $70 that month, $70 this month, $70 that month, over and over and over again for these Xbox titles, eventually you might go, do I just buy an Xbox, dude? Like, I'm spending, hundreds of dollars on Xbox games at this point. Do I just go buy an Xbox, like the cheap Xbox, and just pay $15 a month? And I save quote unquote, all this extra money. I think that's honestly a really good pitch where it is like, yeah, you can buy it for full price from our competition. You can buy Halo Infinite 2 Deluxe Premium Edition for $70 over on PlayStation, or just come over to Xbox and pay $15 a month and download that shit day and date, and you just be playing $15 a month. Don't even worry about it. No extra money required except for buyer microtransactions. Those are really nice.
You're right. And this kind of goes into the whole the thing where it was like, hey, people should expect to not own games anymore, right? And so I mean that and that kind of goes into it. It's like, yeah, you might get the hardware, or eventually it'll all just be on PC, and we just kind of pay these companies a royalty fee for their games essentially, and we don't own them, or what have you,
And I get, like, obviously there, video game preservation is very important, and I'm hoping that stuff comes in place.
I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, if that, as long as the games get preserved, if that's the future we're going towards, I don't even really mind it. I don't care about spend. I brought it up before with the whole when we talked about the whole Ubisoft guy saying get used to not owning games. I don't give a shit that I don't own Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. I can go play it right now. There's no problem with it. I just pay the, whatever it is, $12 a month for Ubisoft Plus, and I can go play it right now. And so I think that, once again, software is the new push. And I think Microsoft is reading the tea leaves, and they're getting it right. And I think that this is going to be very interesting in the future, especially because Sony's in a very weird spot right now as well, where their software, I feel like, has been interesting at best.
Too much for too little.
Yeah, you're just not getting their software fast enough at this point. They're taking 7 years to make these goddamn games, and they're amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, they're some of the best games ever created, but I don't need the best game ever created every single time. Fill me in with throughout between The Last of Us's, give me a couple of these like 7 out of 10 games, 8 out of 10 games that aren't the greatest thing ever, but are still really good. Which actually, I'm just going to segue right now into our next topic, which I'm going to skip one. Helldivers 2 launch is kind of a perfect example of this. Helldivers 2 is a PlayStation Studios game. Not a PlayStation, they don't own the studio, but they're partnered with them, and it is a first-party title. So it's only on PlayStation 5 and PC currently. So you said you've been watching some Helldivers 2. I'd like to get your opinion on the Helldivers first before I get into my whole...
I really just want to hear yours, because dude, with these kind of games, so look, when we watched, it wasn't Game Awards. What did we watch because we saw it on stream, or no, was it Game Awards?
It was Game Awards. Yeah.
Okay. So we watched all these trailers, and we were like, oh, this looks cool. That looks cool. This doesn't, this does, whatever. And so we were going back and forth. I'm just not a fan of these kind of games, and I can tell you why. Or like what my experience has always kind of been with these types of games. And I can harken back to even games like Halo. Like, now, if anyone knows HP is, I am not kidding, probably 20,000 plus hours in all of the Halos combined. I mean, I'm talking, I've spent days, years on Halo 3, Halo 2, Halo 4, Halo 5, and even Infinite. I play so much Halo, but I only play the multiplayer. I do not like the campaigns. I've played them all. Besides Infinite, but I get so freaking bored of just shooting a brute chieftain 100 times until he dies. I can't do it anymore. And so with games like Helldivers, in my opinion, it is just a flashier version. And obviously it's third person or whatever. It's a different experience. I understand that. I'm not stupid. But it's just a flashier version of the things that I don't like. And because like when I play a game, I want a single player game specifically. I want it to either be one of two things. I want it to be a very cinematic experience that transports me. But you know me, I typically want a game where I'm pushing buttons. So it's either got to be a cinematic experience, which I already don't really care for, or it's got to be so groundbreakingly different. Like Destiny is a different space where we're playing PvE, because typically my shooter experience is a PvP experience. I don't even play PvP in Destiny. I like the PvE experience, but that's because they give me things to do. You go press this button here to activate this thing, to turn this thing on, to send on this lamp, to activate this guy, so my teammates can do this while they're getting healed while we're doing damage. Like, you're doing 7 different things at once. It keeps brain happy, right? So things like Helldivers, there's a lot going on, but it's a lot, in my opinion. Now, I haven't played this, so bear with me on this. I'll
tell you if you're wrong. I'll tell you if you're wrong.
But it feels like a lot of things to do nothing. And by that, I mean, you call, like, for example, and I don't mean just this game. There's other games like it. I've played many games like this, and it's like you'll call in, like I played the Aliens game, or even Division, where it's like you have this ability to do this thing, but there's no impact. So, or you call down this thing to blow this thing up. It's just a cool flash on the screen. So this thing blew up, and it was a cool explosion. It was a Gears of War style bullet storm explosion where limbs went flying in the explosion, and you could even change the terrain, maybe Red Faction style. But then it's like, then what? I'm getting nothing but a visual experience. I'm not getting like a, how do I want to say, like a puzzle experience. I'm not getting this, like, how do I approach this situation? Or typically those games consist of shoot the guy till dead. That's it. And that's why I just don't like shooters. I just don't. So, I mean, I would love to hear your take on it, because I don't think that this game looks bad by any means. It looks fantastic for those who like the genre. I don't really like this genre, if I'm being honest.
See, I think based off of what you're saying, I think Helldivers 2 would actually kind of be right up your alley, where I do think that it is a lot more than just, you know, shoot this guy until dead, mission completed. Because a lot of my best experiences in Helldivers so far has been the objective, almost, kind of Destiny raid-esque sort of thing, where it is, okay, one person's got to go over to the terminal, enter in the code. Okay, and then we got this person over here. They've got to readjust the lamp so the person at the terminal can see where it's supposed to go. Okay, yeah, right there. Okay, now we need to make sure we go get power. Okay, now we got to run across the map, grab this SSD, upload it, you know, and the whole time you're like fighting, you know, all the swarms and mobs and all this kind of stuff as you're trying to accomplish these goals. And so, like, it does give me a lot more to do than just shoot the stuff. Now, granted, shooting the stuff is major part of it. That's what kind of creates the pressure to do the objectives as quickly as you can. Like, even, you know, there's like some objectives where it's like, oh, go destroy an outpost. And I like the way that they use the outpost isn't just, oh, shoot this thing. It's like, no, the things you're destroying are the monster closets, are the things that are bringing the enemies out. So the pressure comes from the objective. The objective is pressuring you. Hey, if you don't close these bug holes, like, the bugs are just going to keep coming. You're going to get swarmed. And so you do have to approach it where you say, okay, what stratagems that I do I have to take care of this situation? And stratagems are, I think, kind of almost the bread and butter of the gameplay experience, because they're not that scripted thing that you're talking about, where it's like, oh, there was an explosion and like that's kind of it. They are very on the fly, where, oh, there's a huge swarm of these guys coming. Okay, I'm gonna use my stratagem that I brought in to drop napalm to give us a little bit of breathing room while we try to take this objective from these other guys. Or from these other mobs and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to deploy a sentry turret real quick with my other stratagem to try to hold off like the smaller wave. Oh shit, here comes the big guys. Okay, we need to call in an orbital strike and do this. Or, oh, we need to call in like support weapons like rocket launchers to try to deal with them and everything like that. And so it embodies a very on-the-fly experience of you've got to problem solve very quickly, because the game is consistently throwing problems at you that can't just be handled by you shooting your tiny little gun, especially because your tiny little gun, I mean, while it gets work done in small pieces, I mean, once you start getting into like there's 9 difficulties in this game, and once you even get past like difficulty 3 or 4, you've got to start strategizing, or you are going to get overran and you are going to die. Like, you will not make it out 100%.
Well, then I have a question then. So, because what you're saying sounds like a better experience. I wish there was like a demo for it, right? Because because games like this have burned me time and time and time again. I paid 30, maybe $40 for the Alien Isolation game, I think is what it's called. And it was kind of like this similar promise. It was like these hordes of aliens kind of come at you from the Alien franchise, and then you have to get the doctor, extract him. And it's like, oh, that's cool. There's an objective while you're shooting. But it really just feels like just run to the end of the mission. The doctor's just kind of there to say there's an objective. And so those types of games always burn me. What you're saying sounds a little bit different. It sounds better. And so it sounds fun. Yeah. I wish there was a demo to play it because I don't want to spend $40 and get burned, especially right now where I don't have that kind of money all the time because so many bangers are coming out left and right.
Yes,
yeah, GTFO, like Super Saiyan Jones said, GTFO is another. That one kind of burned me. It didn't feel as they held up the promise. But like I said, I am just not into the shooter genre. What you're saying sounds fun to me, and I want to explore it, but I don't want to get burned. So, but it sounds interesting.
And that's fair. I think almost all these games make a mistake anytime they don't have a demo. Let me play the first 2 hours, right? Let me get a little taste. 2-3 hours. Let me get a little taste to see if this is something I want to keep going with.
Do you think it's worth the $40? Honestly,
1,000%. I believe it is worth the $40. I think that one big difference I think with this game versus things like GTFO and Alien Fireteam Elite or whatever it was called.
That one, yeah, that's what it was.
Is those are missions, right? You're dropping in and the mission is the mission. It's a level that's been created for you to, follow path A. Maybe there's a path B.
There's never a path B.
Yeah. Usually it's path A to get to the objective and do the thing and just shoot along the way. Yeah. This is not that. So to explain kind of the experience of Helldivers and honestly, what I think really makes it like so good is because it drops you into a playground. It does not drop you into a mission. It drops you onto the planet. And the planet kind of randomizes. Like there's some like pieces that you'll recognize after a while, but it's essentially kind of randomized. You drop in and it is an open map. It's not huge, but it is an open map. And it says, yep, your objective is over here. There's all these little side objectives everywhere else. You can hit up some of those side objectives. You cannot hit up some of those side objectives. Your call. You could point A to point B it to the objective and complete the objective and then extract out if you need to. But really, that's not what you're going to be doing because you're going to see the objective and you're going to be like, you're going to open up the map and you're going to be like, oh shit, man. Yeah, there's like 3 outposts between here and the objective. I mean, we can try to go through the outpost, but I don't know if we brought the right stuff for it. So maybe we're going to go try to sneak around instead and like do that. Honestly, you know what it reminds me of? Like the old Ubisoft E3 demos where like they'd be playing The Division and they talk in a way that like literally nobody ever talks, where they're like, E4, I'm on your 6. Oh, watch left, left, blah, blah, blah. It's like no one talks like this. The crazy thing about Helldivers is you do. They make you talk like that because there is so much strategy and stuff happening every single moment. And I also love how like in the game too, they don't put like gamer tags above people's heads or anything like that. They put call signs. So like since I'm as Fjord, right? It puts E1 as my call tag. And so you legitimately are, you're just like, E1, get down, swarm coming. All right, throw this, now go do that. Like,
yeah, but if you're playing with your friends, you would just know who's who. So you wouldn't need that.
You do, but at the same time, the game in a way almost like incentivizes that role play experience. Like it makes it so that it's easier to do the role play experience than to not do that role play experience. Because even with my friends, I know who they all are, right? I know exactly their names and everything like that, but I'm still saying like, oh, like N3, you got to get out there. I'm about to drop an orbital strike right there that's going to kill and stuff like that. And so I think that because it is like one of those things where you're dropping into the planet, it builds into that realism, and it's not just go down the hallway with all the enemies and then come back and do all, with the objective. It is, how do you want to approach this objective? It's on the other side of the map. You even get to choose when you choose the objective you want to go complete. It even gives you the option of how you want to drop in. So if you want to drop in super hot on the objective, you can, but it's going to be hot. It's going to be real, real hot.
So I have a question for you then. We got games like Sea of Thieves, for example, where I love that game because it's all about the experience and because the end game is nothing. The end game is literally you can do the end game, quote unquote, the moment you launch the game, because everyone's always equal. You don't get a power spike or anything like that. You just are going for cosmetic. In this game, I know that's not the case. What is the goal after a mission? Like, what are we doing outside of the gunplay?
So outside of the gunplay, you essentially are getting a couple of different resources as you're playing the game that'll help you level up certain aspects of your Helldiver or your destroyer. So everybody gets their own destroyer, their own ship. And you can essentially use different resources to either get more stratagems, which are the things you can call in. You can bring in 4 stratagems with you into every single mission. And those range from, I can drop down a machine gun that I can pick up and use, or I can drop down a sentry, or I can drop down mines, or I can drop down an orbital strike for my dreadnought. I can have like a jet come through and like drop some like a cluster bomb or something like that. Whole bunch of different things with the stratagems. To where like that's almost kind of your build. The way we were kind of playing it is we did have it where one of the guys on my team, he was kind of the defense guy, so he'd have all the stratagems for dropping
are there actual roles, or do you assign people roles role playing wise, or is there actual
role playing wise? Okay, role playing wise. So there's not like a medic class, but you can decide what the medic class feels like to you, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to run this, this, and this, and this. And that's what medic is.
I kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what medic is to me versus like I kind of said I was the DPS guy, which basically meant, if you do an orbital strike, it takes about 7 seconds for that orbital strike to come in, 7 to 8 seconds for it to land. Versus if you use the jet ones, the Eagle is what they call them. They're like instantaneous, like maybe 2 seconds maximum for them to happen. And so I was running straight Eagle stuff. And so anytime it was like, oh, we've got a huge swarm that just came in, boom, pop my stratagem, toss it over there. Cluster bomb just came through and helped wipe out those guys, or at least like, thin out the numbers a little bit for us to then take them on. And so that was kind of my role, is I was like the quick response. Like anytime, like insane problem just arise, 3 bug holes just open and they're just coming out. And that was basically my cue to go, okay, cool, let me call in the Eagle, throw that. Okay, let me call in an Eagle to go over there and then go over there. And so that was kind of my role versus, the other guy was defensive. So, we're retreating. Okay, I'm going to drop a turret and I'm going to drop a mine over here. Make sure you go around this way because I'm dropping the mines over here and they will blow your ass up. That's the other thing, is like friendly fire and all that kind of stuff is on. So you do have to communicate in a way where it's like, I'm dropping a cluster bomb strike, and if you're there, you're fucking dead. Like you are not getting out of that. You are dead.
So for those who are interested in this game, what would you say the battle pass is for? Considering that you're playing the game, you $40 seems like you get what you get, and you're playing with your friends.
I will say this has been a controversy because a lot of people have been saying that the game is pay to win because new weapons are in the battle passes. Right? So that's how you unlock new weapons, is through the battle passes. I will say a few things though. One, I don't think it's pay to win because nothing is like overly stronger. Like it's not like, if you bought the premium battle pass, you get the ultra strong doohickey or whatever. It's just a different experience. It's just something that provides a different way to play. But on the other hand, I will say, one, you can actually get the premium currency in game. So if you wanted to get the premium battle pass, they call them war bonds. If you want to get the premium one, you could actually earn enough of that stuff in game to get it for free. And so you can theoretically play this game completely free. Granted, it might take you a little while. Like I think when I do find them out in the world, because you'll find the premium currency out in the world, like in secret spots, it's like 10 to 20 credits. And you need 1,000 to get the premium battle pass. So it'll take a bit, but you could theoretically just play the game and get all that stuff for free. There also is the free war bonds one, which is the bigger pass. The free war bonds is like 9 pages of stuff, whereas the premium one's like 3 pages of stuff. And so essentially every time you complete a mission, you do get these medals, and that's how you go into the battle pass. And it's not a track where it's like, at level 4, you get this. You get to spend the medals how you'd like. So if you don't care about getting the player cards or like any of that garbage, like the emblems or whatever, you can totally skip over those and just use your medals to get the weapons or the armor or, the emotes or whatever it is that you might want. You get to choose how you essentially build your battle pass. And so that's kind of the progression as far as like you'll unlock more options as you level up as a player, but a lot of it does come from either spending the resources on the ship to like increase your stratagems or increase your like passive bonuses, or using your medals to then get the weapons or armor that you want. The other thing, as kind of just a random aside, the microtransactions are surprisingly cheap, like the cheapest I've seen in a decade. So for like an armor set, or like for an armor skin, right? It's like $2.50. Which in most games nowadays, that's like minimum $10, if not $15, $20 at this point. And so the microtransactions are also very generous, almost to where I'm like, how are you guys making money off of this as far as like the live service aspect? Obviously, they're charging $40 up front for the game. But it's a live service that feels very generous in what it gives you. At no point have I felt like it's like constantly being like, oh, hey, buddy, you should definitely go over here and buy these things. Like, oh, it'll be great for you if you go buy this stuff. Like, but yeah, that is kind of to circle back to your original question, that is the loop as far as like outside of the gameplay, is using the resources you get to then, oh, and actually I got a whole nother thing, to tangent to go on, but using that stuff to buy stuff from the war bonds and also upgrade your ship. That's kind of the out of gameplay stuff. But I actually completely forgot to bring up what I think is actually the most important part of Helldivers, and what I think is one of its coolest aspects, which is the metagame, the galactic war that is happening. So basically, when you launch a mission, you go to this galactic map, right? And it shows you the galaxy and it's kind of like sectored up, where it's got like different squares that are like, oh, this is the bling blong sector, and this is the bloom blong sector, and this is the freaky diggy sector, or whatever, random names. There's an actual war that is happening, and they've actually said there's a team at this studio specifically dedicated to the galactic war. And so in the middle of this galactic map is Super Earth. And on both sides of the map, you've got the Terminids, which are the bugs, and the automatons, which are like the Terminators, basically, that are slowly encroaching in sector by sector onto Super Earth. And so every single mission that a Helldiver completes, every objective actually that a Helldiver completes or fails, goes towards the galactic war. So right now, if you log on to Helldivers, we're currently engaged in a campaign to take planet Heath from the Terminids. And right now, I think it's at like 80% liberated right now. And so every single mission completed goes towards that percentage. Or every mission failed takes away from that percentage. And so we're trying to push back the Terminids. So over time, we're going to capture planets, and then we're going to move on to the next planet and the next planet. We're going to keep pushing back against the Terminids on this galactic map.
Yeah, I love that because there's like this collective hive mind, if you will, to the game. So it's like, hey, did you get on to do your thing to push back the high,
did you do your duty to Super Earth today, Helldiver?
And I think that's cool because just to a degree, I don't really care for it too much, but I think it's interesting, and more games need to do stuff like this. And one of the games that I would love to create one day has something similar to this, actually. And I love this in New World, where it's not necessarily, I mean, it's going on your server, but like, yeah, your little clan or your company, if you will, in New World can do enough to spark a war between two other companies, which in turn helps the entire faction. So every company that's a part of your faction, because it goes like faction, then company, the faction being the umbrella. And so multiple companies of the same faction can help take over a territory. So you can just do your part and you help the percentage to start a war. And once you've started a war, they then recruit anyone from the faction of any companies, regardless of if you helped or not. So that's a really cool concept, to add these percentages to the grander scheme of things. I do like that.
And I do love it too, because like right now, if we as a community do push back the Terminids in this sector, we all get a massive reward. And then it's on to the next objective, the next orders. Okay, General, what's the next orders for us? Okay, we got to go to the Bling Blong sector because the Terminids are trying to blah, blah, blah. But the thing that I love about it, and what I loved about Helldivers 1, because Helldivers 1 actually had this mechanic way back in 2015, but they had more enemy races. And so it legitimately would take collective effort, like collective community effort, because it'd be like, guys, if we don't go to the automatons right now, like they're gonna reach super Earth. Like they are pushing up. Like, and that's kind of what's happening right now. When I was playing last night, everyone's focused on Heath right now, but there's another planet called Angel's Venture, and I legitimately just watched every hour that percentage was ticking down and ticking down and ticking down. And I'm like, oh, we're going to lose this planet, guys. And then it's going to be, they're going to go to the next planet and invade that one. And then we got to try to push them back to get back to Angel's Venture. And so me and my buddies were like, everyone drop on Angel's Venture. We got to rescue it. We got to keep it from getting, taken over. And I bet if I logged in right now, it's probably gone, because it was at like 4% when I logged off last night. And I was like, that planet's done. That's done. Like that's
Give
gone.
it up.
And so that's honestly another big push for me right now too, is like, it does feel like collective action. Even at the end of missions, it says squad's impact to galactic war, and it'll show your percentage tick it up and everything like that, or the percentage tick down if you failed.
Right.
And so I think this is a great first coming out for the Sony live service stuff. I mean, if their other live service games are this good, I actually think they're probably in a really good spot. I don't know if they all will be. I mean, it took Arrowhead Studios. They've been working on this basically since Helldivers 1. So they've been working on this for like 7-8 years. And that once again goes to the Sony problem of like, their games are amazing, but they take 7-8 years to make. And so but yeah, I think Helldivers 2 is well worth the $40. And I think that it's one of those games that is just going to continue to get better and better, just like the other Helldivers did. Helldivers 1 got consistent updates for years and years and years. New enemy races, new stratagems, new upgrades, new all this stuff. And I think that we are going to have a very similar effect here. And so I think Helldivers 2 is going to end up being a very successful launch. I think that nothing else on the market right now offers the experience that Helldivers does. In a way, it's almost an extraction shooter. And so I think it's offering something that not a lot of people can offer right now. And it's offering such a fun time with friends because of all just the crazy kind of goofiness that can happen, where it's like, I'm dropping the mines. No, wait, don't do it. I'm right here. The mines come down. You're like, no, you've killed me. You've actually killed me. And so, and one last thing I'll say about it is Helldivers 2, I think, is also fantastic because it's delightfully complex. Like in most other games, if you want to call down an orbital strike, you press left on the D-pad or something and you throw it out, right?
Yeah.
It's not that engaging. Whereas in Helldivers, even if you want to call in a resupply, you basically have like this Mortal Kombat fatality you have to enter, to like a code essentially, to call down that resupply.
Might get a little tedious, but that sounds fun.
No, I honestly, it's great because eventually you just start learning it. You don't even have to look at the little thing on the left that tells you the combination. You're just like, I already know the resupply code. Bam, 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 boom, boom. Called it in. Okay, now I know my code for this. And so it allows like a form of mastery, right? To where like, if this is your build, you always do the Eagle stuff. You're calling in these things like it's nothing. Like,
and you can train somebody too. Yeah, you do
exactly.
It like this.
Yeah. You do it like this. You sweep across like that. You blah, blah, blah. Because like, one of our buddies was having a hard time with it. But over a couple of hours, he was loving it. He was like, oh, yeah, like I've memorized my machine gun call down now. So I know, the combo for that. So I could just boom, 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 boom. Versus, when we first started, he was having to stop. We're running away from all these bugs. And he's having to stop to like look at the combo. He's like, okay, up, down, left, right, down, up, and then he's like getting killed by bugs. Versus now, as we're running, it's like boom, call it up, boom, 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 toss it behind you, keep on running, and so it allows a lot of that mastery to kind of come out. And same thing with the weapon. So if you've got a mag, if you shoot 2 bullets out of that mag and then reload, that whole mag's gone. You just wasted all those bullets. And so every system in the game is it's this level of complexity that allows you to kind of grow into the skill they expect you to have, which makes it feel really good when you're like, oh, I know, okay, it takes this many shots to take out one of these guys. And so I know each mag that I have can take out, 8 of these guys. And so now I'm going to bam, 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 bam. Okay, reload. You already know, right? It allows you to grow into that mastery, which is something that I feel like a lot of games just don't allow anymore because they try to dumb it down for the audience. Versus I feel like Helldivers is trying to make the audience grow up with them. They're like, here's where the bar's at. You're not going to be there at first. And that's fine. You're going to play on some of the lower difficulty and you're going to kind of learn. but then you have the chance to grow into that mastery so that when you are doing difficulty 7, 8, 9, missions, you feel like a master. You feel like a master helldiver because you're over here just calling in shit, getting your shots off, knowing when to reloading it, doing all this stuff. And so this is one that I'm going to be playing for a while.
Good. That's good. That's good to hear. Maybe something can finally kick you off of Exoprimal.
Maybe. I mean, hey, Helldivers 2 might be game of the year this year. Who knows?
Could be. Sounds like it's pretty good. You definitely got me more hype. I still don't know if I'll purchase it just yet, but you got it on my radar now where it wasn't before.
I definitely think you'll enjoy it. I definitely will say it's better with friends. So if
we have a bunch of people that already have it,
then I'd say you definitely enjoy it. Not that I'm advocating right now for you to go out and purchase it, but I definitely think you would enjoy it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it if you do end up getting it.
Yeah, sounds good. Before we get into the next topic, I do want to mention something because you said Extraction. I totally forgot that during Next Fest, I also played Dungeonborn.
That's right.
Because everybody knows that I'm a big Dark and Darker fan. But mostly because of the genre, not because of the gameplay, because the gameplay is pretty stale in terms of what you actually do. You just kind of walk up and beat the crap out of people. It's not very engaging too much, but I just love the concept of the extraction stuff, and I'm not really into Tarkov. It's too realistic for me, so we're waiting obviously on Marathon to be the because Bungie has next to none when it comes to their gunplay, so I can't wait for Marathon. But Dungeonborn is just a better version of Dark and Darker. I don't know why or where the hell this came from, but it's literally the same exact game. It's so odd, but it's fun. I had fun. And my only issue is like I don't like this single portal, like where one of us can get out and the other one can't. I think that you should be able to extract with your team. That's always been that's a stupid concept to me. I don't know why. I would love to speak with the devs and see why that's the case. Maybe it's because it's more hardcore, but I think that's silly. And also the PvE is a little too hard in the beginning in terms of like, you can, like, even if you're blocking against one of the bigger enemies in the first levels, like before you even descend to the next levels, you block and it takes half your HP. If you don't block, it one-shots you. Like, the games can be hardcore, but you don't have to make them that hardcore. You don't need to make them unplayable. Like, the concept is so fun, but stop making your games unplayable, guys. Like, it makes me just want to turn it off. Like, I got, and then I faced another guy who was like level 25 and I'm level 3, and he one-shots me with daggers. He literally walks up and throws 3 daggers at me, and it kills me instantly. That was his ability to throw the swords. It kills me instantly. And I'm like, in what world is that even like fun? We didn't even have a battle. He just walked up to me, pressed one button, and I died. And like, that's, guys, make your games fun, not impossible.
Yep. So I actually did play Dungeonborn as well, because I didn't ever play Dark and Darker when it came around. So I'm like, all right, let me give this a try because people are saying it's like Dark and Darker. And let me tell you, man, I walked in, I did 2 drops. The exact things you said happened where I just insta died. And I'm like, nope, I'm out. Delete. Not fun. And it's the same problem that I had with Tarkov, because the same thing happened with me with Tarkov. When you go in, immediately get killed. And it's like, how is this fun? How, like, what is the loop? And I kind of, not even in a condescending way, I'm just like, what is the loop that I'm missing that is supposed to be fun?
And I think it's the concept. I think that's what most people love about these types of games. It's the concept. It's getting out. It's that adrenaline. It's that rush. It's that intensity of the moment. You got out with your stuff, but we don't need to make it impossible. Now, Tarkov might be a little bit more manageable because you're playing against people. But there are the NPCs around, but they're not like actively shooting all the time, or they're a little bit easier to fire at. Maybe it is a little bit more manageable, I guess, in that sense. Whereas these games like Dark and Darker, there's so great of a discrepancy. Like, why can level 3 queue up with a level 25? He clearly has way more skills, way more gear. Like, I don't mind it because I can just get out with better gear, but it's like, I mean, I feel like I can never get out. And if I get out, my teammate can't.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the problem is like you bring up the fun comes from getting out, but that leaves from the moment I drop in to the moment I get out, that leaves 20-30 minutes of unfun stuff until I get the fun hit. And that's why I'm just like, I don't understand. I'm really hoping that Marathon, I'm really, really hoping that Marathon like fixes a lot of this stuff and realizes like
I think that they'll focus more on battle and moment to moment, exactly.
Because I want to, even if I don't get out, I want to be able to say, oh man, but I had a couple of great skirmishes, like, oh, this guy up in the tower and I was doing blah blah blah. Like,
yeah, for
like
sure.
I want to be able to talk about that stuff, not like, yeah, I kind of killed a couple bugs and slunk around because I didn't want to lose my shit until I got out, and then I was like, oh yeah, I got my shit. Like, that's just I'm really hoping that they realize like that is not the fun aspect of it. I want moment to moment fun, not a burst of fun when I get out after killing 5 bugs.
And then if you don't get out, you just want to turn it off.
And then I don't get out and I'm like, all right, cool, that was a waste of my time. Delete.
Yep.
So after that, we're just gonna do a quick little rundown on some of the smaller stuff. Nothing too crazy.
Well, there's one thing we didn't say, but we need to maybe mention. But it's under big stuff. But I don't think we need to talk about it for too long with the Disney.
Oh shit, you're right. Yeah,
I mean, everybody knows it. We all know what's happening, but it's not going to happen for like 3 years. But you can go ahead and lead into that. But it's something we need to stay on because everybody knows this.
Yeah, Disney has invested 1.5 billion in a partnership with Epic, and so basically they're saying like, "Hey, we are basically Epic is trying to build the metaverse with Fortnite, and I think they're kind of succeeding so far, at least in the early stages." And so Disney's basically saying, "Cool, get us in there." Like,
I mean, they're already on their way there. We knew that this was kind of a long time running, so.
Yeah, and so I'm very impressed with where Fortnite's going. You know, I have logged on and played Fortnite Festival a couple times. Couldn't care less about Fortnite Battle Royale, but I do think the concept of Fortnite becoming the platform has actually been working decently well. You know, it's the early stages. Some of the features aren't 100% there. And so I think Disney's smart to get in on this and basically be like, hey, when Mandalorian season 4 comes out, we want to have a thing on Fortnite that's like, oh, go play the Mandalorian season 4 experience in, you know, essentially the metaverse where you're going to run around and you're going to be the Mandalorian doing this, that, and the other. Like, I think that that's really smart. And I'm very excited to see what comes from it. Like you said, I don't know if there's much to say about it because we're not going to see the fruits of this for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. The metaverse war is also starting to kick up. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that evolves.
I think that this one might be the one to kind of take the cake. This is so massive. It's insane. I mean, Fortnite is bigger than anything. So,
I mean, yeah, and Fortnite's got partnerships with all this different stuff. Like, even, you know, so I was a big Rock Band guy, and they just recently ended support of putting out new DLC for Rock Band songs after years and years of always every week having a new song. And already, like on Fortnite Festival, they're getting songs they would have never been able to get on Rock Band just because of the power of the Fortnite name. They're able to go, oh, hey, we're going to go to this giant artist and be like, we want your song on Fortnite. And they're going to say, of course
they'll just say yes.
Yeah, they'll say yes. Oh, on Fortnite, the big massive thing that my nephews play? Hell yeah. Like, get me on there. And so,
especially that it has a younger crowd. That's actually a good point. My nephews, it's the younger crowd too. So you're getting a new consumer before they are even consumers, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Damn, that sounds diabolical. Say it like that. Getting them before they even know you, they've got. Yeah, they've got. Get consumed, little kid. I'll be interested to talk about this a little bit later on. In fact, I might even go play some Fortnite this weekend to kind of get some more thoughts on it.
I will.
But
not.
Anyways. I will not. I will stay far away.
If they do another AOT event, maybe I'll jump back in.
Oh, yeah. So small stuff. Sonic movie announcement and new Knuckles show looks great. You're definitely more of the Sonic guy, but I will say the Knuckles trailer looked great. I was like, damn, I might actually watch this.
So I'm gonna blow your mind in a couple things here. You're an older millennial gamer like myself. Maybe you'll remember. Do you remember a game called Sonic 3 and Knuckles?
Yeah, baby.
This is what's happening in real time. This is the first time I've said this. I haven't seen anyone talk about this, but this is what's happening. They are geniuses. Look, the studio that is making Sonic, the director that is making Sonic, he said he started off with the first one, and he was like, "Hey, here's this ugly Sonic," and everybody's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And he was like, "Whoops, my bad, fixed it." And from that day, this dude has been respected by me and by the community of the Sonic fans all over. And this guy has made it just this incredible display. The first one was just a taste. It was like, what if Sonic was in the real world? They gave it a decent story. It was fun. It was a fun movie. Sonic 2, first off, amazing, because Sonic 2 introduces Tails. What do they do in the video games? They introduce Tails. So boom, immediately already keeping it like kind of lore accurate and how like the game franchise was released. And then the Sonic 3, they're taking it, if spoiler alert, it's a 4-year-old movie or whatever, but you guys should have already been here with this, or maybe it's a 2 or 3-year-old movie, but the trailer also shows it. Shadow's going to be in Sonic 3, and that's kind of the focus. So Shadow Sonic Adventure 2 was the first introduction to Shadow. But they're putting it in this, and they've also stated, like, they're just doing all the right moves, dude. I'm freaking out. I love this so much. So in Sonic 3, they're adding Shadow. In Sonic Adventure 2 is the first time Shadow comes in. So they're doing that storyline. And since this is Sonic 3, they're doing Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the Knuckles TV show, as the side piece to the Sonic 3 movie. So it's Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is already amazing. But they're also putting Live and Learn, which is the song that's in City Escape. Yeah. They're going to put that song in the game or in the movie to Sonic 3. They've already announced that. And I am so obsessed with that song, with this franchise. I love, because Sonic has just kind of been always in this wayside of like, it's not very good, but the characters are lovable, or the franchise is really cool, but it's not really cool when you play it. Like there's this very typically they're like Sonic Forces and stuff like that, big buggy mess. But Frontiers kind of the movie, and then Frontiers kind of started this like new wave of like Sonic can actually be good. And so I'm so stoked to see that they're hitting all the fan service clicks in my brain that I needed for Sonic, and they're just running with it, dude. I mean, this is all I need to say about it, but dude, I am so happy with this franchise and this director. I can't remember his name, but God, they're doing such a fantastic job at that studio. Genius.
Yeah, man, I think it's clear that Sonic is one of the powerhouses as far as like video game crossover right now.
Absolutely.
I think that they've done a great job of crossing it over to a bunch of different stuff and kind of getting it into pop culture a lot more. Granted, it already was back in the Sega days, but then GameCube and all that stuff happened, and it started to kind of fall out of the zeitgeist. And so now it's being brought back in a big way, to the point that I might even watch the new Knuckles show. I watched the trailer. I was like, damn, this is kind of cool. This is kind of funny. This is kind of cool.
I mean, you can't beat Idris as well. I mean, I'm going to say it right now, Idris for Ganondorf. So
I'm right there with you. I think Idris as Ganondorf would be fantastic. Next up, Overwatch is making big experimental changes. I don't really, I've been on the Overwatch hate train for a while now. Basically since the Overwatch 2 happened, I've been negative on Overwatch. So I will leave this one to you and what you want.
I mean, we can be real. Overwatch 2 is just Overwatch 1, just
0.5 maybe,
just to make the game. It barely even that. I mean, it's the same game. They're just adding new characters. It really is the same game. So I don't understand this whole thing with that. I think it was just a reselling point, so they could be like, hey, new game, and then people will come back, which is what I did. I mean, I hadn't played it in so long. I love this game though. I have a love for this game. It's always been on my radar, but I never get to really play it because I like to play these types of games with my friends. None of my friends really like to play this game too often or as much as I would like to. And not just this game. This is like games like Rainbow and stuff like that. Like I said, we always kind of just go back to League. But I love this game, but they're changing it in a huge way. Overwatch is especially if you play it. If you don't play it, you might not notice it. You can come back to it and get a weird new experience that you didn't even have before. But if you already play it or have played it, what you know about the game is completely changing. I mean, they're completely changing the way damage works. The damage heroes now apply a 20% anti-heal debuff to people that they attack. And then all champions will now heal automatically after 5 seconds after being out of combat. It's like 20 per second or something like that. And then every champion or every hero is getting a scaled with their class. So like healers are getting like 25 health permanent to their base health. Tanks are getting like 100, and then DPS are getting like 50 or 75 or something like that. So these sound like small changes, but when you add, there's many more. I don't know them all, and I don't want to like looking them all up, but there's many changes that are gonna culminate to making this game feel, in my opinion, completely different than it's ever felt. Now it's still gonna be Overwatch. If you've never really played it, you're gonna jump in and not realize that the game was ever any different. If you played a lot, you're gonna definitely notice. If you played it casually, you might see a little bit of difference. It might just, if anything, I think it's going to be a little bit more accessible. So, you know, these players don't have to rely on a healer to get healed, or the DPS can actually feel like they're not getting perma healed against. So like if you're shooting at a tank and then they're just getting perma healed, you don't have to feel like you have to go after the healer every time. Kind of don't like that change necessarily. But at the same time, it is a teamwork game, so the way they're shifting this teamwork meta around, I think it's a good way to shake things up. I don't know if this is the right move. I think that it might be a little too experimental. If that's the case, they should have actually made an Overwatch 2, or if this was their plan all along, waited. I don't know. But I'd be interested to see it culminate. It comes out in like 3 days, I think, so I definitely want to try it. And I'll report back next week if I do end up trying it.
Yeah, report back. I'm always interested in how can Blizzard fumble the Overwatch IP even more. I love that narrative.
I like the game. I can't. What can I say?
I know. People like the game and stuff. I just always think back, like I was super hot on Overwatch, and then it was just fumble after fumble after fumble.
The thing is I hear that sentiment a lot, but the thing is I don't feel like it's any different than day one.
Oh, I feel like it's hugely different, especially like I feel like with.
In terms of like, yeah, well, go ahead.
I think, especially in the way of like, I think in the way that, especially zeitgeist wise, Overwatch was like the hottest thing, right? And then it fell off because they kept on fumbling chances to do more with the IP. And then even in the game, they started making a bunch of changes and kind of like, it got to the point where everyone just basically ran like damage and like maybe like one healer.
Well,
and
you
then
can't
I was like,
do
why
that.
are you? I know you can't do that anymore, but that's what I'm saying is they keep on like changing what the game is going to be. And I think that's where the fumbles keep on coming in, is I feel like the Overwatch has not had a clear vision in a long time. And they keep on just kind of throwing shit out of the wall and seeing what sticks. And I get that there is some validity to that. Like I do understand like that's sometimes how you build it, but it just kind of feels like we've been at this for like 7 years now, guys. Like, we gotta establish a vision. We gotta establish what we're doing with this thing. I dropped off after like I think like year 4, like right around 2019, 2020 is when I dropped off.
We typically have spurts in my group that play it. We play it for about a month, then we stop. We wait a year, play it for about a month, then we stop. And that's a healthy relationship with Overwatch for me. I would like to play it a little bit more because I love teamwork. That's why I love multiplayer games so much. I think that's one of the games where you actually do use teamwork a lot. Like I wish Destiny, to be honest, had a Mercy style from Overwatch healing mechanic. I wish that there was like a healing role in Destiny versus just bing, got a well down, everybody's healed. Like that's like so boring. And don't get me wrong, I love Destiny. Obviously, I'm not knocking that, but that's the only way to really heal somebody. Now, Final Shape is changing that up a little bit with the guns, but even then, I don't think it's going to be what we think it's going to be. So.
Hey, healing auto rifle, man. It's coming.
I don't think it's going to be what it seems like or what it sounds like. I think that's a gimmick that they're going to add that no one's going to ever run, because the reason I say that is because you have such a small shield and health pool in Destiny. If it was much larger and you could sustain a lot more damage and you didn't auto heal, then they would be more relevant, but they're just not. So like I would use Lumina if there was no auto healing, but why would I? Because the only reason, why do you use Lumina? Do you use it to heal?
No, use it for the
damage
buff.
Exactly.
Yeah, damage
but
buff.
What does it do? It also heals, but no one uses it for that. So why would anyone change it up with the auto rifles? There's no reason. Now it's cool that they're legendary, so you're not wasting an exotic slot, but are you really going to heal your teammates? You're not doing that already. I mean, there's an exotic for warlocks that heal your teammates. They have little seekers. Lumina does it. Your rift will do it, but you'll say, "Hey, I got a healing rift down," and no one comes over and stands in it. They're just gonna wait till their own shield comes back. They don't want to relocate. The only time that you're healing your teammates actively is with a well, and that's just one of those important phases of DPS. I don't think that these auto rifles are going to change anything. I'm getting a little off topic, but I wish they had something like Overwatch did have in it, and larger health pools to sustain said role. But I do love I love Overwatch. I'm just excited to see where it goes. So I've always liked this teamwork game mode. And like I said, the meta is different from when you might have played last. Like now it's 2 tanks, 2 healers. You know.
Yeah.
So I like it.
They introduced all that kind of stuff, and so yeah, it could be a lot better, but I don't know. I guess my love for the IP just kind of died after a while. But that's fair. I hope it does good things for him, because I know multiple people who play Overwatch.
I think it's just too late.
I think so too. That's what I mean by the.
I don't think it's a bad game. I just think that I think people just want to play Fortnite. If I'm being honest, that's all it is. It's not. It's really not. I don't think it has anything to do with Overwatch being bad. Because if you ever play it and you have a good time with your friends, you're gonna have a good time. But everybody just wants to go play Fortnite.
But I also just think that the experience that Overwatch can give you could just get in a lot of other games now at this point, even if they're not the same type of game. But like even stuff like League of Legends, I feel like you can still get like a lot of that same type of thing that you would want out of a game like that.
I just think Overwatch is so unique that you don't get that same experience. Like you do in terms of like what you feel for League of Legends, but I'm saying even down to the genre of game, it being a first-person shooter, a very intense in the action experience. You don't get that from League of Legends. You're top-down, isometric. Like it's not the same.
That's fair. Yeah, it's definitely not the same. But I think that the value from the business perspective, the value proposition that Overwatch is pitching nowadays, I just think people just don't. It's too late, like you said. The audience has moved on to something else. I
hereby pitch to make Overwatch 3 a first-person MOBA, and maybe that'll shake things up.
Hey, maybe. I'd try it. I would try it. All right, next up, Skull and Bones devs say $70 price is more than worth because they are quadruple A.
And with that, did they just create a new tier 6 for damage check?
Well, hold on a second. We got to give it to Microsoft first, because back when they announced the Series X and whatever, and they're like, "Oh, Perfect Dark is going to be a quadruple A game," and everyone was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" So Ubisoft, just typical Ubisoft, just stealing from other companies, stealing all their ideas.
We're not making a tier 6, by the way. It's a tier 5 or lower. Quadruple A is a joke.
I mean, yeah, Skull and Bones. I mean, what more can be said about it? I do want to try it. It's in its open beta right now, and I'm like, I at least want to try it to see if it's awful. I've seen some people saying they really like it. I
haven't seen a soul. All the forums that I've been on that I usually get my news from, everyone is saying it feels like this mobile game. One guy said it feels like this mobile game that he plays. So he said, I've already played this mobile game. Why would I play this game? Some people are saying, why do ships have health bars? They shouldn't have health bars. That you're not managing the ship. You might as well go play Sea of Thieves if you want a pirate game. So I mean, that being said, I don't want to play this, because if I'm not actually doing ship combat, if I'm doing more Black Flag combat, then I don't really care.
The biggest criticism I've seen is that it does feel like it's like 4 or 5 games stitched together that don't really make sense to be stitched together. So I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see it. I'll always give something a try. Pirates isn't my favorite aesthetic, so I don't think I would really stick with it anyways. But hey, if you want to play Skull and Bones, I would honestly probably just recommend you, kind of going back to our previous topic, if you're just going to play it, don't spend $70. Go pay $12 or whatever for Ubisoft Plus. Play it for a month and save yourself $60-something or $50-something.
Right. I would agree.
That is the better way to do this. This is the glory of subscription services, where now you don't need to pay $70 for a shitty game. You can just go or basically rent it for $12, play it, and then be done.
That is kind of the modern day rental. That's a good point.
Yeah. Just go to a subscription service, play it, be done with it. Maybe play Prince of Persia, since that's a way better game, and that's also included with Ubisoft Plus. Get both of those for $12. There you go. Exactly. You made out like a bandit.
Yep. And for our last and sad yet also sad endings, happy beginnings story, Dead Cells development is officially finito. Devs focus on new games, which is exciting, because I have Dead Cells. I played it a little bit. It's not really my vibe, but I respect its space, and I respect its crossovers and its DLC and what the team has done to that game. Definitely one of my favorite things about the devs do with games like this, that the devs did with this game specifically, is they had a lot of love in it. You can tell the devs love this game, and so their next project excites me. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm really hoping for more of a platformer versus the Metroidvania Souls-like roguelike style, but I like, give me a good platformer. Heck, even give me a platformer roguelike. I mean, we haven't really seen a full-on like that. Give me something like that and I'll be happy, but whatever I know that they're moving on to, I know it's going to be something fantastic because this team is just full of life and love for their product.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I loved Dead Cells when I played it. I didn't play a lot of the like later updates, but first like month or two it came out, I played the hell out of it. And so I'm very excited to see what they do next. This is kind of a similar thing when, you know, like Super Giant moved off of Hades onto, you know, Hades 2, and Hades 2 is going to be amazing. And so I'm excited to see whatever Dead Cells 2 or whatever, you know, if it's going to be a Dead Cells 2, I don't think there probably will be. I think it'll be something else. Whatever they move on to, I'm sure is going to be fantastic.
Absolutely.
And hey, they had a great run. They got to do a crossover with Castlevania, dude. Yep. I mean, I can't think of a better way to walk off into the sunset with this type of game.
Absolutely. And I bet they got to be, I mean, I'm proud of them. They got to be proud of themselves, you know?
Yeah, it's 100%. Awesome. And with that, that's all the news we got. HP, you got anything else as far as damage check?
Nope. You guys can just find me and support me and my wife, Sirens, at go to YouTube and type in Sirens Sketches. She'll be the cute little girly avatar doing cozy art vibes. And then you can support me and find me at Heretic Plays anywhere on any social media. And Ford, where can they find you at?
You can find me as Fjord on Twitch or YouTube if you'd like to keep up with that kind of stuff. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I actually got off of that, so I actually need to make another account on one of these other social media. So I'll get back to you guys on that, but it'll probably be at Fjord that you can find me. And yeah, make sure you check out all the stuff HP is doing. Sirens videos have been fantastic. I did want to tell you, I've been loving those. They've been great, cozy vibes, as you mentioned. All right, and then with that, that is your damage check for the week. You guys have a phenomenal weekend. Play a bunch of games. Play some Helldivers 2 if you can afford it. And keep being amazing. Love you guys.
See you guys.